The galaxy had never seen a gathering like this before. On the crystal blue planet of Zithra, the greatest minds, leaders, and explorers of countless civilizations arrived in shimmering ships that cut through space. Like streaks of light, the air buzzed with energy, for today was no ordinary day. It was the day when Lyra, the most respected alien leader of the known galaxy, would choose the next galactic emissary, a role that carried the power to influence peace, trade, and alliances across billions of star systems. Lyra herself was a vision of elegance and authority. Her skin shimmered like liquid silver, reflecting the light of Zithra's twin suns. Her eyes, deep pools of violet, seemed to see beyond the surface of things, into the hearts and minds of anyone she met. Her reputation was unmatched, wise, fearless, and fair. Entire civilizations had flourished under her guidance, and her judgment was respected even among the most proud and powerful alien species. Delegates from all over the galaxy arrived in waves. The Aryans, with their translucent wings that glowed softly, floated gracefully in the air. The Krillians, enormous insectoid beings, clacked and clicked their mandibles in constant conversation. The Valorians, tall and elegant, moved silently, their eyes shifting in slow, deliberate patterns, scanning every corner of the summit. All of them carried the weight of centuries-old traditions and expectations. In the midst of this extraordinary gathering, a small, seemingly ordinary ship touched down at the edge of the summit's landing field. Unlike the sleek, polished ships of the others, it was a simple craft, marked with the colors of Earth. From its step to human Ethantal, brown-haired, and wearing a plain uniform. He carried no glowing tools, no psychic enhancers, no strange alien devices. Only a calm smile and an air of quiet confidence. The crowd whispered as he walked through the landing field. Humans were rare in these parts, and few had ever met one in person. Most of the delegates had heard stories. Humans were unpredictable, fragile, and primitive compared to alien species that had mastered interstellar travel, psychic abilities, and energy manipulation. Yet there was something different about Ethan. He walked steadily, meeting gazes without fear. Nodding politely to the beings around him, Lyra observed him from a distance. At first, she saw what most others saw, a simple human, not nearly as advanced as the delegates around him. Yet as she watched, she noticed a subtle difference. Unlike the others, Ethan's presence did not carry arrogance or a desire to dominate. He seemed curious, alert, and deeply aware of his surroundings. There was a spark in his eyes, a mixture of courage and intelligence that made him stand out. Even among the most extraordinary beings in the galaxy, the summit began with a formal greeting. Lyra addressed the assembly in a voice that resonated in every corner of the vast hall. "Welcome, leaders of the galaxy," she said. "Today, we gather not only to honor tradition, but to embrace the future. The role of galactic emissary requires wisdom, courage, and the ability to unite beings across all worlds. Let the trials begin." The first task was announced, a test of observation and insight. Each candidate would witness a simulation of a diplomatic crisis involving multiple civilizations, and had to propose a solution. The simulation was projected in a massive holographic sphere that floated in the center of the hall. It displayed scenes of heated arguments, trade disputes, and environmental disasters, all happening simultaneously on different planets. The alien delegates immediately activated their advanced tools. The Aryans emitted pulses of energy to read the emotions of other delegates. The Krillians connected their minds in a network to calculate probabilities and outcomes. The Valorians simply closed their eyes and visualized the perfect solution through mental projection. All methods were impressive, precise, and highly technical. Ethan, however, did nothing of the sort. He simply observed. He watched the holographic scenes carefully, listened to the debates, and thought quietly. When it was his turn to speak, he stepped forward and addressed the problems one by one, not with calculations or psychic energy, but with reason and empathy. He proposed compromises that balanced the needs of all parties, suggested methods for cooperation that relied on trust and communication, and highlighted solutions that others had overlooked. The hall was silent at first. Many delegates could not understand how a human, without advanced tools or alien abilities, could propose solutions that were both practical and fair. Lyra, however, leaned forward in her seat. She had seen countless beings attempt the test before, but never one who approached it with such calm clarity. Ethan's perspective was refreshingly different, untainted by centuries of tradition or rigid logic. It was raw, creative, and deeply human. After the first round, the candidates gathered in smaller groups to discuss their approaches. Other delegates whispered among themselves, some skeptical, some curious. "A human?" one Krillian murmured. "How can such a simple species even hope to compete?" Yet even the most skeptical found themselves quietly impressed. Ethan did not try to dominate the conversation. Instead, he listened, asked thoughtful questions, and offered insights that helped the group move forward. Lyra requested a private meeting with Ethan after the first test. In her chamber, overlooking Zithra's sparkling oceans, she studied him closely. "You are unlike any being I have seen," she said. "Your species is considered limited, yet your approach to these problems is extraordinary. You see possibilities others cannot. How do you do it?" Ethan smiled gently. "We humans face uncertainty all the time. We adapt, learn from mistakes, and find ways to work together. We don't have all the tools or powers you do, but we use what we have. Sometimes that is enough." Lyra considered his words carefully. She had ruled the galaxy for centuries, yet this human, with nothing more than courage, curiosity, and empathy, had caught her attention in ways no alien had before. She felt a strange sense of excitement. Perhaps the galaxy had underestimated humans. Perhaps their simplicity was their strength. The day ended with a grand feast in the summit's hall. Foods from dozens of planets were served, fruits that glowed with bioluminescence, liquids that shimmered like liquid gems, and grains that seemed to float above the plates. Delegates mingled, exchanged stories, and shared insights. Ethan, though surrounded by the most powerful beings in the galaxy, did not seem intimidated. He asked questions, listened intently, and shared small stories of Earth's people, how they built cities, solved problems, and dreamed of the stars. By the end of the evening, the buzz had shifted. No longer were the whispers filled with doubt. Curiosity and respect had begun to replace skepticism. Delegates began to wonder, could a human, so different and so ordinary by galactic standards, truly have what it took to rise to greatness? Lyra watched the proceedings from her high vantage point. She knew the trials ahead would test not only intelligence, but courage, creativity, and heart. And she knew, deep in her mind, that this human Ethan was unlike any other candidate she had ever seen. The spark in his eyes hinted at possibilities the galaxy had not yet imagined. As night fell on Zithra, the twin moons casting silvery light across the summit, Ethan looked out at the vast horizon. He felt a mix of awe and determination. He was far from home, in a galaxy filled with beings far more advanced than he was. Yet something inside him whispered that humans, in their own way, had a place among the stars, and somewhere in the distance, Lyra's violet eyes followed him, silently acknowledging the first hint of a decision that would soon shake the galaxy to its core. The galaxy was about to witness something it had never seen before, and the story of a human among the stars had only just begun. The morning sun rose over Zithra, casting golden light across the summit's floating halls. The delegates assembled again, their discussions filled with energy and anticipation. Today, the trials would become more challenging. The first day had been a test of observation and insight, but now came the test of unity, a task that would push the candidates to demonstrate not only intelligence, but the ability to bring different civilizations together. Lyra stood at the center of the grand hall, her silver skin gleaming in the sunlight. "Today," she announced, her voice resonating like music, "you will face a challenge that will determine your capacity to unite the galaxy. You must resolve a dispute involving multiple civilizations. Each candidate will lead a delegation, negotiate solutions, and present a plan acceptable to all parties. Let the test of unity begin." The holographic sphere at the hall's center activated, projecting a detailed simulation. On one planet, two civilizations argued over access to a rare energy source. On another, disputes arose regarding trade routes through asteroid fields. On a third, environmental damage threatened the survival of a species. The delegates had to find solutions that were fair, sustainable, and peaceful immediately. The alien candidates activated their tools. The Aryans sent waves of psychic energy to sense emotions, aiming to predict reactions. The Krillians connected their minds to form a massive decision network, calculating probabilities with terrifying speed. The Velorians meditated, projecting their consciousness into the simulation to anticipate outcomes before taking action. Their strategies were flawless, precise, and almost mechanical. Ethan, the human, did not activate any devices or powers. He simply studied the simulations, listening and observing. He noticed the emotions, not through psychic power, but by watching gestures, expressions, and tones. He noted the needs of each group and reflected on how humans handle conflict through conversation, compromise, and understanding. When it was his turn to act, Ethan spoke calmly and clearly. "We need to look beyond what each side wants and focus on what they truly need," he said. On the first planet, the two civilizations must share access to the energy source in a way that benefits both. On the second, trade routes can be managed with scheduled access and joint patrols. On the third, environmental restoration can involve collaboration. Using the skills of each species to heal the planet together, the hall fell silent. Many delegates could not understand how a human, without advanced technology or psychic abilities, could propose such comprehensive solutions. Yet the simplicity of Ethan's reasoning was its strength. He focused on empathy, fairness, and cooperation, qualities often overlooked by species who relied on technology or mental abilities to dominate outcomes. Lyra's violet eyes narrowed thoughtfully. She had expected innovation, yes, but not this. Ethan's approach was not only effective, it was inspiring. He emphasized trust and dialogue, showing that even primitive beings could wield influence through understanding and connection. As the test progressed, Ethan faced obstacles as the simulation introduced to make decisions harder. Unexpected events occurred. Energy surges threatened the first planet. Rogue fleets blocked trade routes on the second, and a sudden storm endangered the third. Where others reacted with pre-programmed solutions, Ethan relied on observation and quick thinking. He proposed solutions that adapted to change rather than trying to control it completely. For example, when a fleet blocked the trade route, he suggested a rotational schedule, giving each civilization equal access while forming temporary alliances to clear blockages. When the storm hit the third planet, he proposed combining alien technologies with local resources, teaching species to work together rather than solving the problem alone. Other delegates began to notice. Murmurs spread through the hall. "Look at the human, he's not powerful, yet his solutions work." Some were skeptical. Could a human truly understand such complex systems without years of experience and advanced abilities? But even skeptics could not deny the results. Ethan's methods worked where others had failed or would have caused conflict in real scenarios. After the simulation concluded, each candidate presented their final plan. Most relied on charts, holograms, and calculations to impress Lyra. Ethan, however, spoke plainly. He outlined each step, emphasizing cooperation, trust, and mutual benefit. He illustrated how working together could prevent future conflicts, not just solve the current problems. His words were simple, yet carried a weight that technology and psychic powers could not match. Lyra listened intently. The other delegates waited, some frowning, others intrigued. When Ethan finished, a soft hush filled the hall. Then, slowly, the Aryans nodded. The Krillians clicked their mandibles in reluctant approval. Even the Velorians, who rarely showed emotion, acknowledged the logic of his approach. Impressive. Lyra said finally, her voice carrying authority and curiosity. "You approach unity not as a series of problems to solve, but as a network of relationships to understand. Most beings rely on dominance or precision. You rely on empathy and trust. Explain this to me, human. Why is this your approach?" Ethan took a deep breath. On Earth, we face many differences, cultures, languages, beliefs. We survive not because we dominate, but because we adapt and cooperate. We learn from each other and from mistakes. Even the smallest voice can make a difference if people listen. That's why I try to bring everyone together first, not control them." Lyra's eyes glimmered. She had known many beings, some brilliant, some cunning, but few who truly understood the power of connection. Ethan's words revealed a perspective that no alien species had ever mastered. The galaxy had advanced technology and intelligence, yet it lacked this human quality, resilience through collaboration. After the presentations, the delegates were asked to vote on the effectiveness of each candidate. Surprisingly, many voted for Ethan. Not all, but enough to shock the assembly. He had proven that a human, considered weak and primitive by galactic standards, could compete on equal footing with centuries-old civilizations. Later, in a quieter part of the summit, Lyra approached Ethan. "You have shown skills far beyond what most expect of your species," she said. "You think differently. You inspire trust and cooperation where others rely on tools or influence. That is rare, even for the most advanced beings in the galaxy." Ethan smiled. "I just tried to understand people, not impress them. Maybe that is enough in situations like this." Lyra nodded, thoughtful. "It may be more than enough. Humans are often underestimated, but I am beginning to see why they endure. Strength is not always measured in power or knowledge. It can also be measured in understanding and connection." As the sun set over Zithra, the delegates returned to their quarters, buzzing with discussion. Many could not stop talking about the human who had challenged their assumptions. Whispers filled the halls. "Perhaps humans are more than we thought, a species so small, yet so wise in ways we never imagined." Ethan, meanwhile, stood on a balcony, looking at the twin moons rising in the sky. The test had been difficult, but he had succeeded by staying true to his nature. He knew the challenges ahead would be even harder. The test of unity was only the beginning. The next trials would push him to demonstrate creativity, courage, and adaptability, qualities humans often possessed, but others rarely recognized. Somewhere in the shadows of the summit, Lyra watched him quietly. A sense of anticipation grew inside her. She had seen candidates fail, some brilliant in calculations or power, yet none could match the simple strength. Ethan displayed the ability to bring different beings together without force, to unite rather than dominate. She felt a rare excitement stirring within her. Perhaps this human, small and unassuming, had the potential to change the galaxy in ways no one could predict. And as night fully settled over Zithra, the galaxy held its breath. The test of unity had shown one undeniable truth. Humans were not as simple as many had assumed. In fact, they were extraordinary in their own way. And Ethan, standing among the stars, ready to face whatever came next, was only beginning to reveal the true power of humanity. The third day of the summit brought a different kind of challenge. The first test had measured observation and insight. The second had tested unity and diplomacy. But now came the test of the mind, a trial designed to explore creativity, strategy, and adaptability. Candidates would face situations that no alien mind could fully predict, where intelligence alone would not be enough. Only those who could think differently would succeed. Lyra addressed the candidates in the grand hall, her voice carrying calm authority. "Today, you will face simulations that will challenge your mind in ways beyond calculation. You will encounter crises, puzzles, and dilemmas that cannot be solved by force or prediction alone. Only those who can imagine new possibilities and adapt to unexpected events will succeed. Begin." The holographic sphere activated again, but this time it displayed an ever-changing galaxy in miniature. Stars collapsed, new planets formed, and alien fleets moved unpredictably. The simulations were designed to challenge every type of intellect. Candidates would need to save civilizations, prevent disasters, and navigate complex social and political networks all in real time. The alien delegates immediately activated their usual methods. The Aryans projected waves of psychic energy to anticipate future events. The Krillians formed a massive neural network, calculating every possible outcome. The Valorians extended their consciousness across the simulations, seeking perfect solutions before making decisions. Their approaches were precise, controlled, and elegant but predictable. Ethan, the human, watched quietly, as always. He did not rely on tools or mental projection. Instead, he observed the patterns, listened to the simulated population's complaints, and considered the limitations of the civilizations he was trying to help. Where others saw data points, he saw people. Where others saw probabilities, he saw consequences that mattered to lives and societies. The first crisis involved a star on the verge of collapse. An entire planet's civilization faced extinction unless a solution could be found quickly. Advanced delegates tried to redirect energy flows using technology, creating complex shields and energy funnels. Ethan looked for another way. He noticed a natural phenomenon in the simulation: a small, overlooked energy field surrounding the star. It could be amplified and stabilized with the help of local planetary resources. He proposed a plan that combined science with adaptation, using what was already available instead of relying solely on advanced technology. The simulation accepted his solution. The star stabilized, and the civilization was saved. The aliens around him were stunned. No one had expected such a simple, creative approach to work. Some whispered, "A human. He thinks so differently." The next challenge involved an interplanetary dispute. Two planets' fleets were on the verge of war over a misunderstanding that had grown over decades. The delegates attempted to predict the enemy's strategy using psychic and computational methods. They made careful plans, but each solution led to new conflicts in the simulation. Ethan, however, took a different approach. He reached out to the leaders, listened to their grievances, and asked questions. He proposed a series of joint projects that addressed both sides' needs, emphasizing cooperation and mutual benefit. The solution required compromise and trust, not technology or psychic power. Slowly, the fleet stood down, and the conflict ended peacefully. Lyra observed with growing admiration. She had watched countless beings attempt these simulations, and most relied on control, manipulation, or overwhelming power. Ethan relied on understanding, observation, and creativity. He solved problems by thinking outside the predictable frameworks that so many aliens relied on. The final challenge was the most difficult, a series of unpredictable crises occurring simultaneously. Rogue black holes threatened entire star systems. Political conflicts flared across multiple planets, and environmental disasters threatened life everywhere. The simulations were chaotic, designed to overwhelm and confuse the candidates. The alien delegates reacted instinctively, applying all their tools at once. Energy shields, psychic waves, and computational projections collided in the holographic sphere, creating a dazzling but chaotic display. Solutions were partial, often solving one problem while worsening another. Ethan paused. He considered the situation carefully. He realized that focusing on individual crises would only lead to temporary fixes. Instead, he thought about the galaxy as a network, a web of interconnections. He proposed solutions that addressed the root causes of the problems, combining resources, knowledge, and collaboration across civilizations. For the rogue black holes, he suggested using controlled energy channels from nearby stars, guided by local civilizations' technology. For political conflicts, he proposed dialogue sessions mediated by neutral species. For environmental disasters, he organized shared knowledge and manpower to restore planet's ecosystems. All of this relied not on power, but on coordination and creative thinking. The simulations accepted his plans, resolving the crises faster and more effectively than any of the alien candidates' methods. Whispers spread throughout the hall. The human, he sees solutions no one else can imagine. After the test, Lyra summoned Ethan to her private chamber once more. "You approach problems in ways that defy expectations," she said. "Most beings rely on knowledge or power, but you rely on imagination and adaptability. Explain why you think this way." Ethan thought for a moment. "Humans face challenges all the time that we can't control. We don't have perfect knowledge or endless power. We survive by noticing patterns, learning from mistakes, and finding new ways to solve problems. Sometimes the answer isn't obvious, and you have to create it. That is how I approach these tests." Lyra nodded thoughtfully. "It is remarkable. Your mind does not conform to the usual methods. yet it succeeds where others might fail. This quality, adaptability, creativity, resilience is rare. Even among the most advanced beings I have known. Ethan smiled gently. I just try to understand the situation as fully as I can and think about what will help everyone, not just one side. It seems to work more often than not. Word of Ethan's performance spread quickly among the delegates. Many were astonished. Here was a human, lacking advanced tools, psychic powers, or centuries of training, yet solving challenges that had confounded the most intelligent species in the galaxy. Some delegates who had doubted him began to reconsider their assumptions about humanity. At the evening gathering, candidates and delegates discussed the day's trials. Some aliens admitted that humans' way of thinking creative, flexible, and adaptable was something they had never fully understood. Others argued that humans were still too simple to lead or make significant decisions. Yet even in their skepticism, a seed of curiosity had been planted. Ethan, however, did not focus on impressing others. He spent the evening learning from the alien delegates, listening to their experiences, and asking questions. He shared small stories of Earth, of how humans solve complex problems through cooperation and innovation, and how ordinary people could accomplish extraordinary things when they worked together. Lyra watched quietly from her vantage point. She had ruled the galaxy for centuries, guided by knowledge, experience, and reason. Yet this human, so unassuming and ordinary by alien standards, displayed qualities she had rarely seen. Not strength, not power, not even advanced intelligence, but a mind capable of seeing possibilities others overlooked. She felt a mixture of admiration and excitement. Perhaps humans were underestimated for reasons far beyond what she had imagined. As Zithra's twin moons rose in the sky, bathing the summit in silver light, Lyra's thoughts lingered on Ethan. He had passed the test of the mind in ways that defied expectation. Other delegates had relied on methods they had perfected over centuries. Yet it was the human's simple creativity and adaptability that produced the most successful outcomes. Ethan, meanwhile, looked out over the summit from a balcony. He felt the weight of the galaxy's expectations pressing lightly on his shoulders. The test of the mind had been challenging. Yet he had succeeded by staying true to his instincts and embracing human qualities: curiosity, empathy, and ingenuity. He knew the next trials would be even harder, testing courage, leadership, and the ability to inspire others. Somewhere in the shadows, Lyra's violet eyes followed him. She understood now that this human might change the galaxy in ways no one had expected. Humans were small, fragile by appearance, but in their minds, they carried something powerful, something other species had not yet recognized. The galaxy, vast and full of wonders, had just begun to notice humanity. And Ethan, standing quietly yet confidently among the stars, was ready to continue showing what a human could do. The summit of Zithra had reached a level of anticipation unlike anything in galactic history. The first 3 trials, observation, unity, and mind, had been completed, and Ethan, the human, had impressed the delegates in ways they had never imagined. His calm intelligence, empathy, and creativity had made even the most skeptical species reconsider their assumptions about humanity. Yet the ultimate challenge remained, the heart of the choice. Lyra called all candidates to the central hall. The atmosphere was different from before. Instead of tests of skill or strategy, this trial was personal and reflective. Each candidate would meet with Lyra privately and demonstrate qualities that could not be measured by intellect or technology alone: compassion, empathy, courage, and the ability to inspire unity across species. When it was Ethan's turn, he entered the chamber with his usual calm demeanor. The room was vast, with walls that shimmered like liquid silver and a view overlooking Zithra's sparkling oceans. Lyra, seated on a platform at the center, regarded him silently, her violet eyes thoughtful. "You have performed admirably in all previous trials," she said. "You have demonstrated observation, unity, and creativity beyond what most would expect of your species. Yet the final choice I must make is not based on ability alone. It is based on heart, on qualities that cannot be taught or simulated. Tell me, human, what do you value most?" Ethan paused, considering the question carefully. I value honesty, trust, and fairness, he said finally. I believe that when people work together, listen to each other, and respect one another, they can achieve more than any single being could alone. Even when challenges seem impossible, hope and cooperation can make a difference. Lyra's eyes glimmered. She had heard many beings speak of cooperation, hope, and unity, but few spoke with the sincerity and understanding she sensed in Ethan. There was no pretense in his words, no desire to impress or dominate. He simply spoke what he believed. To test this, Lyra presented a series of scenarios, each more complex and emotional than the last. One involved a conflict between two planets whose civilizations had been enemies for centuries. The other involved a natural disaster threatening a sentient species, requiring difficult choices between safety and resources. Ethan approached each scenario with calm reasoning and empathy. He did not seek to control the outcomes but to understand the needs, fears, and hopes of those involved. He proposed solutions that balanced the interests of all parties, emphasizing trust and collaboration. Where other candidates might have relied on force, intimidation, or technology, he relied on understanding and communication. Lyra watched silently, her mind analyzing every word, every gesture, every decision. She had seen countless beings attempt these scenarios, some brilliant, some ruthless, some clever. Yet Ethan's approach was unlike any she had witnessed. He combined courage with empathy, intelligence with humility, and decisiveness with patience. He made choices that were difficult yet morally sound, demonstrating a rare balance of qualities that few could achieve. After hours of deliberation within the scenarios, Lyra finally spoke. "You are unlike any other being I have met," she said softly. "Most candidates possess great skill, yet lack heart. Others have compassion, yet cannot act decisively. You have both. You inspire trust, cooperation, and hope. You see the galaxy not as a collection of problems to solve, but as a network of beings to understand. Why do you think you possess these qualities?" Ethan smiled gently. "I don't know if I possess them any more than anyone else. I've learned them from life on Earth. Humans face hardships, conflicts, and challenges constantly. We survive not by dominating others, but by listening, helping, and working together. Sometimes we fail, sometimes we succeed, but we keep trying. I suppose that is what you see in me." Lyra considered this, a thoughtful smile forming on her face. She had always relied on her experience, wisdom, and intelligence to guide her decisions. Yet in Ethan, she sensed something beyond experience, a spark of originality, resilience, and moral clarity that could influence the galaxy in ways technology or power could never achieve. She decided to test him one last time. "You have proven your mind and your heart," she said. "But leadership requires more than skill and compassion. It requires the courage to make choices that will surprise or even challenge the galaxy. If you were chosen as the next galactic emissary, would you be willing to make decisions that might shock others if you believed they were right?" Ethan nodded without hesitation. "I would," he said. "Being right doesn't always mean being popular. I would make choices based on fairness, justice, and cooperation, even if others didn't understand at first. If it helps the galaxy grow stronger and more united, then I would do it." Lyra leaned back, a sense of quiet satisfaction settling over her. This was it. She had observed candidates with incredible skills, intellect, and power. Some could manipulate, control, or dominate. Others could predict outcomes with astonishing accuracy. But none possessed the rare combination she had seen in Ethan: intelligence, empathy, creativity, courage, and humility. Making a choice of this magnitude was never easy. The galaxy was full of expectations, traditions, and rules. Most species would never accept a human in such a position of authority. Yet Lyra had to follow what she knew in her heart. Leadership was not about fear or dominance, it was about vision, trust, and the ability to inspire others. In this, Ethan was unmatched. Finally, after a long silence, Lyra stood. "I have made my decision," she announced to the chamber, her voice clear and commanding. "The next galactic emissary will not be chosen for strength, skill, or history alone. It will be chosen for heart, courage, and the ability to unite the galaxy. And my choice is a human. The room fell silent. Delegates stared in shock. A human? Many had expected a member of a more advanced species, one with centuries of knowledge, psychic ability, or technological mastery. Few had considered that a human simple, fragile by galactic standards could possess the qualities needed to lead. Murmurs spread quickly, disbelief echoing across the hall. Some whispered excitedly, others with concern, and a few with outright skepticism. Yet Lyra's voice cut through the doubt. Do not underestimate this choice, she said firmly. This human has demonstrated courage, creativity, and empathy beyond any other candidate. He embodies qualities that the galaxy needs now, more than ever. Ethan stepped forward, feeling a mix of pride and humility. He had never imagined that a human could be chosen for such a role. He glanced at the delegates, seeing a mixture of shock, curiosity, and cautious admiration. I will do my best, he said simply. I will listen, learn, and work with all of you. Together, we can make the galaxy stronger, safer, and more united. Lyra's violet eyes glimmered with approval. You will not be alone, she said. We will face the future together, as partners. Your courage and humanity will guide the galaxy, just as my experience and wisdom will. As the sun set over Zithra, casting golden light across the summit, delegates began to discuss the implications of this unprecedented decision. A human had been chosen not for power, skill, or age-old reputation, but for heart, courage, and the ability to inspire cooperation. The galaxy was stunned, but slowly, curiosity replaced disbelief. Many began to wonder if this choice might mark the beginning of a new era, one guided not by dominance, but by empathy, trust, and understanding. Ethan, standing beside Lyra, looked out at the vast horizon. He felt a mixture of awe and responsibility. The trials had been difficult, but they had shown the best and worst of every civilization present. He knew the real challenge was only beginning, to prove to the galaxy that humanity's qualities, its resilience, creativity, and capacity for connection could truly make a difference. Lyra placed a hand on his shoulder, her touch calm and reassuring. You have passed the final test, Ethan, she said. Not because you are human, not because of skill or luck, but because you have the qualities that matter most. You have the heart of a leader, for the first time in centuries. Lyra felt a profound excitement about the future. The galaxy had seen humans before, but never like this. Never one who could stand among the most powerful beings and inspire hope, cooperation, and courage. Ethan represented more than his species. He represented a new possibility for the galaxy itself, and as night fully descended over Zithra, with the twin moons casting silver light across the summit, a new chapter was beginning. The heart of the choice had been revealed, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The sun rose over Zithra, its twin rays lighting the crystal towers of the summit. Today was the day the galaxy would witness a decision unlike any in its history. Lyra stood beside Ethan, the human she had chosen as the new galactic emissary. The hall was filled with delegates from countless civilizations, their expressions a mixture of shock, curiosity, and cautious respect. Lyra stepped forward, her silver skin gleaming in the sunlight. Delegates of the galaxy, she began, today marks the beginning of a new era. Leadership is not measured by power, technology, or the age of a civilization. It is measured by heart, courage, and the ability to unite all beings. The next galactic emissary is a human Ethan from Earth. For a long moment, the hall was silent. Many delegates could not believe what they had just heard. Humans had long been considered primitive, fragile, and unpredictable. Few could imagine that a simple human could hold a position of such importance. Yet the evidence of the trials was clear. Ethan had proven his wisdom, creativity, and empathy beyond any alien candidate. Whispers spread quickly. The Aryans tilted their glowing wings in surprise. The Krillians clicked their mandibles in disbelief. Even the Valorians, who rarely displayed emotion, regarded Ethan with cautious curiosity. Some questioned the decision, fearing that a human might be incapable of handling the responsibility. Others quietly admired him, recognizing the rare qualities that Lyra had seen. Ethan stepped forward, his gaze steady and calm. "I am honored by this choice," he said simply. "I did not take it lightly. I will do my best to listen, to learn, and to work with all of you. Together, we can create a galaxy where cooperation, trust, and understanding guide our actions. A galaxy where differences are not a cause for conflict, but an opportunity to grow stronger together." A murmur ran through the hall. His words were simple, yet they carried a depth and sincerity that no advanced technology or psychic ability could replicate. Delegates began to understand what Lyra had recognized from the start. Humans, though small and seemingly ordinary, possessed qualities that could change the course of the galaxy. The first challenge of Ethan's new role came almost immediately. Reports arrived of a dispute between two neighboring star systems, threatening to escalate into a full-scale conflict. Alien leaders had tried for decades to mediate, but their efforts had failed. Ethan approached the situation as he had during the trials, by listening first, understanding second, and proposing solutions based on cooperation. He met with representatives of both star systems, hearing their fears, hopes, and frustrations. He suggested compromises that respected each side's needs and proposed joint projects that would benefit both. Slowly, distrust gave way to dialogue. The alien delegates observing the process were astonished. What technology or calculation could achieve what a human's understanding and empathy had accomplished? Meanwhile, Lyra coordinated behind the scenes, providing guidance and support. Together, she and Ethan became a team, experience and wisdom paired with fresh perspective and human creativity. Their partnership set a new standard for leadership across the galaxy. Word of Ethan's success spread quickly from one system to another. Delegates who had doubted humans began to reconsider. "Perhaps we underestimated them," some whispered. "A human can think in ways we cannot, solve problems in ways we never imagined." Slowly, respect began to replace skepticism. Beyond immediate conflicts, Ethan and Lyra also focused on long-term cooperation. They initiated programs for knowledge sharing among species, environmental restoration projects for planets damaged by war or neglect, and joint training programs for young leaders from different civilizations. Each initiative emphasized collaboration, understanding, and trust. Ethan's approach was not always easy for the delegates. Some struggled to adapt to his style, which valued patience, discussion, and empathy over immediate results. Yet the results spoke for themselves. Disputes that had persisted for decades were resolved, alliances were strengthened, and planets that had been isolated found new connections with neighbors. Lyra observed Ethan with quiet pride. She had chosen him not because of power, technology, or reputation, but because of heart, courage, and the ability to inspire others. Every success, every diplomatic victory, every instance of trust built across species confirmed that her choice was right. Humans, she realized, were underestimated not because they were weak, but because their greatest strength was often invisible. Their humanity. One evening, as the twin moons rose over Zithra, Ethan and Lyra stood together on a balcony overlooking the summit. "Do you ever wonder," Ethan asked, "why humans are seen as weak, when we can solve problems and inspire others in ways so many beings cannot?" Lyra smiled, her violet eyes reflecting the moonlight. "It is because we tend to judge strength by what we can see: power, skill, control. But true strength is not always visible. You have shown the galaxy that heart, courage, and empathy can change everything. That is why you were chosen." Ethan nodded. "Then we must keep proving it every day, in every decision we make," and they did. Over the following months, Ethan and Lyra traveled to distant star systems together, mediating disputes, encouraging cooperation, and inspiring hope. Humans, once seen as insignificant, began to earn recognition. Other species began to see that intelligence and technology were not the only measures of potential. Adaptability, creativity, and moral courage were just as important, and humans possessed them in abundance. Young humans were invited to training programs alongside alien delegates. Their creativity and fresh perspectives brought new solutions to old problems. Stories of human success spread across the galaxy. inspiring not only other humans but also alien youth. A new understanding began to take shape. Humans, though small in number, had a unique role to play in the galaxy's future. Meanwhile, older civilizations began to reflect on their assumptions. They realized that underestimating humans had been a mistake. Strength did not always come from psychic power, advanced technology, or longevity. Sometimes it came from resilience, cooperation, and the willingness to take risks for the greater good. Ethan's influence continued to grow. He remained humble, never seeking personal recognition or glory. His focus was always on unity, understanding, and building a better future. Lyra admired him not only for his skills but for his character. He reminded her that leadership was not about being the strongest, smartest, or most powerful. It was about inspiring others to be their best selves. Years passed, and the galaxy began to change. Conflicts that had lasted for centuries found peaceful resolution. Trade routes became safer and more cooperative. Knowledge and technology were shared across civilizations, leading to advancements that benefited all. And humans, once underestimated, were now respected partners in galactic affairs. At the heart of this transformation stood Ethan and Lyra, a pair whose partnership embodied the best of every species. Lyra had chosen a human, and that choice had sparked a new era galaxy where heart, courage, and cooperation were valued above dominance and control. In time, the legend of the human emissaries spread across the stars. Children on distant planets learned about Ethan, not just as a diplomat, but as a symbol of hope, creativity, and the power of humanity. The galaxy would never forget the day a human stood among the greatest beings in existence, and showed that true strength comes not from power, but from heart. Ethan looked out at the stars one evening, reflecting on the journey that had brought him here. From Earth, a small blue planet, he had traveled to a galaxy filled with wonders, challenges, and extraordinary beings. Yet despite the vastness, the differences, and the difficulties, one truth had guided him all along. Humans could make a difference, not by being the strongest, but by being true to their values and using their hearts as much as their minds. Lyra, standing beside him, smiled. The galaxy had been stunned by her choice, but now it had learned a lesson that would endure. Sometimes the smallest, simplest beings carry the greatest potential. Humans had shown that courage, empathy, and creativity could reshape the future, and the galaxy would never look at them the same way again. A new era had begun, and at its center stood a human and an alien, united by vision, trust, and hope. Together, they would guide the galaxy into a future of cooperation, peace, and possibilities beyond imagination. The stars shone brighter that night, as if celebrating the dawn of a new chapter, a chapter in which humanity had finally claimed its place among the stars.